new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday. It's the third day in a row that the number of cases has been in triple digits. Of them, 71 were local transmissions and 29 were from overseas. On top of the cluster infection that have originated from places vulnerable to diseases like hospitals, there are now new infections emerging from small gatherings, workplaces, and subway stations. There were 5 more deaths during the death toll to 400. With over 50 million COVID-19 cases reported so far, the world is in dear need of a working vaccine. The latest announcement by Pfizer is a welcome one, as the American biopharmaceutical company announced Monday that its COVID-19 vaccine may be more than 90% effective based on test results, which nevertheless brings some much-needed optimism. The news comes from an analysis of a study involving over 43,000 volunteers. 42% come from diverse backgrounds. Each participant received 2 injections 21 days apart. Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech say the results from 94 evaluable cases of COVID-19 show the vaccine is more than 90% effective, much higher than the US FDA minimum effectiveness bar of 50%. The vaccine is the first in development to have data proving to exceed the minimum. South Korean Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa met on Monday in Washington with their US counterpart Mike Pompeo. Seoul's foreign ministry says the two reaffirmed their country's alliance for prosperity and the Korean peace process. They also discussed regional and global issues as well as how they have been managing COVID-19 without completely closing their borders. Also discussed was the race for the post of Director General at the World Trade Organization. The race is still ongoing, and South Korea's trade minister Kim Yong-il is one of the 2 candidates. It's expected that Kang will also be meeting with lawmakers and scholars who could end up with roles in a Biden administration. President Moon Jae-in will take part in a string of virtual meetings with ASEAN leaders later this week to discuss ways to step up regional cooperation during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the South Korea ASEAN Summit on Thursday, Moon is expected to discuss his government's redesign policy strategy, which seeks to bolster ties with ASEAN members in various areas, including healthcare. On Friday, Moon will sit down with the leaders of countries along the Mekong River, Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand to discuss ways to deepen their ties. The meeting is the second of its kind after the inaugural session in Busan last year. On Saturday, South Korea will be joined by Japan and China for the ASEAN Plus 3 summit. It will be the first time that President Moon will officially meet with Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga since he took office. That will be followed by an East Asian summit that brings together 18 countries, including the US, Russia, Australia, India, and New Zealand. South Korean credit card companies seem to have seen a boost in revenues from the Korean Sale Festival, the country's biggest retail event, which runs from November 1st until this weekend. Credit card companies' revenue for the first week of November went up by 8.4% compared to the same period last year. According to the Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy, more than 1,700 companies have taken part in it. Now to the local bourse. South Korean stocks closed a bit higher than the day before. Korea's benchmark Kospi gained 5.63 points to close at 2,452.83. Moving to the forecast. Mountainous regions in Gyeonggi province are under a dry weather warning, so be careful with anything that could start a fire. Highs will climb in the low to mid-teens this afternoon, so getting up to 12 degrees Celsius. There will be lots of sun with good air quality nationwide, and now the temperatures are 13 degrees in Seoul and 18 degrees on Jeju Island. You're listening to 아리랑 Radio. 오늘 오전 7시 57분 와이어드에서 제공한 뉴스입니다.
It's today's most interesting thing in tech from Nicholas Thompson, editor-in-chief of Wire. Presented by Raytheon Technologies, our nearly 200,000 engineers, researchers, and people with purpose are building the future today. We're pushing the limits of known science to go deeper into space, advance aviation, and build smarter defense systems that protect all of us here at home. That's the future of aerospace and defense. Learn more at rtx.com.
Most interesting thing in tech? Well, we are currently one big step closer to having a coronavirus vaccine. Pfizer has put out a press release about what it says are extremely promising results of tests of its coronavirus vaccine. It says the vaccine is 90% effective. Doesn't really say exactly what that means. It does say that they waited until Uncle Hugh sample 94 people got coronavirus. I think that means then that 86 of them got the placebo and 8 of them got the vaccine. Meaning if you got the vaccine, you were 90% less likely to get coronavirus. So this is great news. There's still a lot we have to learn. One has to be extremely skeptical about any announcement that moves markets, with this moves markets, but it is a good day. A couple of other things that struck me about this. First of all, Pfizer's vaccine is using mRNA, meaning it doesn't actually inject the vaccine into you. It injects RNA which teaches your body to make the spike protein of the virus, and then your body then develops an immune response. So that means there's less risk of getting the virus from the vaccine. In fact, there's probably no risk of getting the virus from the vaccine. There may be other risks, there may be problems, lots of things may happen down the line. But mRNA, if it really works, that's great. Secondly, there are lots of conversations about politics, of course. Pfizer wait until after the election to announce the news? I have no idea. The company says it didn't, but you've got to think their objective is to have as many people as possible take the vaccine. Announcing it before the election would have led to it being highly politicized and maybe some chaos. There's also a question about whether the Trump administration can take credit for the vaccine. Mike Pence tweeted that coronavirus task force deserves credit. Pfizer responded that they actually haven't taken any money for research into the vaccine. But it's also true that Pfizer did make a deal with the government for the government to buy many, many doses of the vaccine. So I give the Trump administration some credit here. It's exactly what the government should have been doing. Promising to buy dosages so that the pharmaceutical companies would be more willing to take risks. But whatever. It's not really a question about who deserves credit or who doesn't deserve credit. What matters if this really works. And if it does, we get lots of doses out. And if indeed the Moderna vaccine, which is based on similar technology, also works, we could maybe start to think about being light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe I'll be able to record this podcast in an actual podcast studio in my home office covered by a blanket sometime in Q2 of 2021. We'll see. All right, that's the most interesting thing in tech. See you tomorrow.
Get more great stories from Wired in our daily newsletter. Sign up at wired.com/daily.
어제 오후 8시 매셔벨 에서 제공한 뉴스입니다.
This is Mashable, presented by Raytheon Technologies. Our nearly 200,000 engineers, researchers, and people with purpose are building the future today. We're pushing the limits of known science to go deeper into space, advance aviation, and build smarter defense systems that protect all of us here at home. That's the future of aerospace and defense. Learn more at rtx.com. Facebook cracks down on misinformation in groups. While the election may have now been called for Joe Biden, our misinformation nightmare is far from over. As unsubstantiated pro-Trump conspiracies about election fraud continue to spread on the internet, Facebook is taking further action with Facebook Groups, a feature that is often weaponized by misinformation spreaders. According to Facebook, the social networking company will now put certain problematic Facebook groups in probation periods. During this 60-day timeframe, all posts to these groups must be manually approved by a group's administrators or moderators. A group will be placed in this probationary state if the company finds that many of its posts are violating its community standards policies. There will be no appeal process in the probation period. All groups, whether public or private, are subject to probation. If policy violation problems continue to persist within these groups during the probationary period, Facebook will Facebook previously announced the policy when it started to clean up Facebook groups in September. The updated policy appears to include a longer probation period. The company had also started closing groups that no longer had moderators in place and stopped recommending health-related groups in order to curb coronavirus misinformation. Four Seasons Landscaping becomes unusual election focus. You might have missed it in the midst of Saturday's revelry in the wake of Joe Biden's win, but the Donald Trump campaign pulled a wild stunt. It started, innocently enough, with Trump tweeting about an 11 o'clock a.m. press conference from his lawyers at the Four Seasons. Tweet was soon deleted and replaced with another one, revealing that the press conference was now set for 11:30 a.m. and it would be happening not at the Four Seasons Hotel, but at a Philadelphia business called Four Seasons Total Landscaping. It's possible that the campaign intended to book the hotel and had to scramble to find a similarly named business when that didn't work out. But after 4 years of Trump, it's just as possible to accept that someone on the campaign team thought it would be a good idea to stage a press conference outside a landscaping firm's warehouse that's also just spitting distance from a crematorium and an adult bookstore. Rudy Giuliani, now Trump's personal lawyer, spent his time at the parking lot podium promoting lies and disinformation about what the Trump camp had characterized as a fraudulent election. Yelp reviewers were feeling the comedy, though. A peek at the business pages for both Four Seasons Total Landscaping and the nearby Fantasy Island adult bookstore serves up some premium laughs at the Trump campaign's expense. Four Seasons Total Landscaping page on Yelp is currently adorned with an unusual activity alert warning as people flock to leave joke reviews of Philly's new most famous small business. GoFundMe cans misleading election fundraiser. The online crowdfunding company GoFundMe removed a viral campaign which could be read to imply the existence of widespread voter fraud Friday, placing itself firmly in the role of attempting to dispel election misinformation. As the U.S. presidential election vote count continued to drag on Friday afternoon, and the Trump campaign worked to delegitimize ballots, a parallel campaign was going viral $1,000 from thousands of contributors. The goal was not some charitable cause or to cover an unjust medical bill, but rather to uncover possible, quote, voter fraud, unquote, in the battleground states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. As of late Friday, the now deleted campaign had raised $219,305 from approximately 3,700 donors. It promised to use the money to investigate alleged voter fraud. To be clear, there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud.
오늘 오전 4시 데일리 리스트에서 제공한 뉴스입니다.
Good afternoon. This is Robert with the Daily News. It's Monday, November 9th, and these are the top stories the TPP is working on right now. In a major development, Pfizer has announced that its COVID-19 vaccine appears to be working to prevent more than 90% of its test participants. The drug company says the news is a quote, great day for science and humanity. Pfizer, who developed the vaccine with German drug maker BioNTech, says that there were no serious safety concerns while observing over 40,000 test subjects in 6 different countries. The company is reportedly planning to ask the FDA for emergency authorization and says that it has manufactured enough doses to immunize 15 to 20 million people by the end of the year. The good news Monday morning caused Dow futures to shoot up 1,500 points. But unfortunately, the positive outlook in terms of the coronavirus does not seem to be working in every country's favor. As household raised people do not have to spend the rest of their lives conducting meetings on video calls, Zoom shares were down by more than 15% in March. Amazon shares dropped 3.4%, and Netflix fell by 5.4%. Meanwhile, Donald Trump Jr. feels that the timing of Biden's vaccine has been conveniently placed after the election. The oldest senator president has suggested that the pharma company Times is announcing to damage his father's reputation on his efforts to, well, lack thereof, with battling the coronavirus pandemic. He tweeted on Monday morning that, quote, the timing of this is pretty amazing. Nothing nefarious about the timing of this at all, right? Thing is, Pfizer's plan was not part of President Trump's Operation Warp Speed on developing the vaccine. So, Don Jr. can take his conspiracy theories elsewhere. A Trump appointee is reportedly refusing to sign a letter that would allow Joe Biden's transition team to formally begin its post-election efforts. Traditionally, the administrator of the General Services Administration would sign official paperwork to give the incoming transition team access to government officials, millions of dollars, and office space. But 2 days after all major media outlets have projected Biden as the clear winner for 2020 presidential election, the current administrator, Emily Murphy, has not written a letter. Biden's campaign even urged him on Sunday to initiate the process because his further delay could disrupt the quote, smooth and peaceful transition. This is not at all surprising considering President Trump's nomination completely countered the election results. Vote counters in Philadelphia have been allegedly receiving death threats because of the baseless, unfounded, ridiculous conspiracy theories that are being pushed by President Trump. Al Sharpton, the Great Commissioner to run elections in the city and the only Republican, he told CBS News, quote, from the inside looking out, it feels all very deranged. At the end of the day, we are counting eligible votes cast by voters. The commissioner said that the office is receiving threatening calls with people telling the workers, quote, this is what the Second Amendment is for, people like us. Reportedly, Schmidt's team will be counting provisional ballots for at least another week, even though Pennsylvania was called for July on Saturday. Another one in the Trump administration is the dust. Defense Secretary Mark Esper leaves the White House after a year and was notable for his lack of achievement and his less than willing attitude to appease the White House at the expense of the military. The final straw was as the declining to use active duty military to end nationwide protests against institutional police racism over the summer. Just days earlier, he had supported President Trump as the military stood ready to, quote, dominate the battle space. Trump tweeted on Thursday that Esper will be replaced on a temporary basis by National Counterterrorism Center Director Chris Miller, a former Pentagon